Imagine for a moment that you are looking at a map of the world. You see the borders, the cities, the trade routes. You see the economy as it's taught in school. Goods are made, sold, taxed, and recorded. But what if I told you that map is wrong? What if I told you that nearly 1/5 of the entire economic activity on this planet simply doesn't exist on paper? We aren't just talking about the black market. We aren't just talking about drug cartels or suitcase deals in dark alleys. We are talking about a parallel system, a shadow world. Recent estimates suggest the global shadow economy averages over 19% of the GDP across countries. In some places, it's half the economy. And deeper still, buried in the spreadsheets of the world's largest corporations and banks, lies a hidden ocean of capital. Fortune 500 companies holding nearly $3 trillion offshore. Shadow banking liabilities exceeding $10 trillion. This isn't a glitch in the system. This is the system. Welcome to the deep dive. Today, on AI-Powered Studio, we are exposing the shadow world. Hello, and welcome back to AI-Powered Studio. I'm your Dalin, and today we're tackling one of the most complex systemic mysteries of our time, the global shadow economy. When we hear shadow economy, our minds usually jump to Hollywood tropes. We think of mobsters, money laundering, and illegal contraband. And while that is certainly part of it, the reality is far more vast and, frankly, far more terrifying because of how mundane and integrated it is. The shadow economy, broadly defined, includes all economic activities that are hidden from official authorities for monetary, regulatory, or institutional reasons. It includes the legal money that is hidden to avoid tax and the illegal money that is washed to appear clean. We are going to look at the three layers of this mystery. First, the survival shadow, why nearly half the economy in low-income nations is off the books. Second, the elite shadow, how trillions of dollars from the world's biggest companies vanish into tax havens. And third, the systemic shadow, the multi-trillion-dollar banking black hole that regulators can barely track. By the end of this video, you will understand why money moves the way it does, and why the price of the goods you buy is directly linked to a secret financial web stretching from Zimbabwe to Switzerland. If you enjoy deep dives into power, money, and systemic mysteries, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. We unravel the world, one layer at a time. Now, let's enter the shadows. To understand the shadow world, we have to look at the map. But this isn't a map of landmass, it's a map of invisibility. According to recent academic work covering the decades up to 2017 and estimates through 2023, the global shadow economy is roughly 11.8% of the total world GDP. But that number is an average that hides a massive divide. Let's look at the extremes. In countries like Zimbabwe, the shadow economy has been estimated to reach as high as 67%. In Bolivia and Georgia, estimates hover around 62 to 63%. In these regions, the shadow world isn't a criminal underworld. It is the primary world. Why? Because in many low-income nations, the official system is broken. Excessive regulation, corruption, and lack of trust in the government force people off the grid. If you are a farmer or a mechanic in these regions, registering your business might cost more than you make in a year. So you operate in the shadows. You use cash. You don't pay taxes, but you also don't get protections. Contrast this with advanced economies. Switzerland sits at about 6.4%. The United States at roughly 7.6%. The UAE is even lower, around 2.1%. In these places, the state is strong, and the penalty for hiding is high. However, do not let these low percentages fool you. A 7% shadow economy in the United States, an economy worth over $25 trillion, is a massive amount of money. We are talking about hundreds of billions of dollars moving in the dark right under the nose of the IRS. But here is where the mystery deepens. The shadow economy in the developing world is often about survival, buying bread, fixing cars, trading labor. But the shadow economy in the developed world? That is about extraction. While the percentage is lower in the West, the value is astronomical. And this brings us to the concept of illicit financial flows. We aren't just talking about tax evasion anymore. We are talking about the movement of dirty money across borders. Global illicit financial flows are commonly estimated around $1 to $2 trillion per year. To put that in perspective, that is more than the GDP of most countries on Earth, vanishing every single year. Where does it go? It doesn't just disappear into a hole in the ground. It flows through the veins of the global banking system, disguised as legitimate trade. How do you move $1 trillion without anyone noticing? You don't use a suitcase. You use a spreadsheet. The most common method for moving illicit money is something called trade misinvoicing. It dominates the landscape of money laundering. Here is how it works. Let's say you are a corrupt official or a tax-evading corporation in a country with strict currency controls. You want to move $10 million out of your country and into a secret offshore account. You can't just wire the money. The central bank will flag it. So you find a partner in a tax haven. You agree to import a shipment of heavy machinery. The machinery is worth $1 million. But the invoice, the piece of paper that the bank sees, says the machinery is worth $11 million. You pay the $11 million. The partner ships the $1 million machine. The partner then takes the extra $10 million, keeps a small fee, and deposits the rest into your secret account. On paper, it looks like a legitimate business deal. In reality, you just laundered $10 million. This happens millions of times a year. It happens with bananas, with oil, with gold, with microchips. Customs agents can't check every container, and they certainly can't know the exact market price of every specialized component. This is the dark matter of global trade. But it's not just criminals doing this. It's the backbone of the corporate world. Let's talk about the legal shadow. In 2017, it was estimated that Fortune 500 US firms alone held about $2.6 trillion offshore. That is a staggering figure. That is larger than the GDP of Italy or Brazil. Why is this money there? To avoid repatriation taxes. By using complex structures, subsidiaries in Ireland, patent holders in the Netherlands, shell companies in the Caymans, companies can shift their profits. Roughly 25 to 30% of global corporate profits are shifted into tax havens. This isn't illegal in the strictest sense. It's tax avoidance, not tax evasion. But the effect on the global economy is identical to the shadow economy. It creates a black hole where capital exists but contributes nothing to the public infrastructure of the countries where the value was actually created. When leaks like the Panama Papers happen, governments scramble. Post-crackdown data exchanges have covered about 4.9 trillion euros, roughly $5.4 trillion, in offshore accounts. This transparency effort yielded about $105 billion in extra tax revenue, $105 billion recovered, against trillions hidden. It's a start, but it's a drop in the bucket. We've talked about the survival economy of the poor and the tax havens of the rich. But there is a third shadow, a shadow so large and so complex that it terrifies central bankers more than any drug cartel. It's called the shadow banking system. Specifically, the world of off-balance sheet currency exchange. Here is a fact that should keep you up at night. Offshore US dollar liabilities and related off-balance sheet foreign exchange positions held by non-US banks exceed about $10.7 trillion. Let me repeat that. $10.7 trillion. This is a massive, opaque funding system that runs parallel to official banking. Here is the simple version of a very complicated problem. Banks and pension funds constantly swap currencies to hedge their bets or fund investments. They promise to pay dollars in the future in exchange for euros or yen now. These promises are debt. They are liabilities. But because of accounting loopholes, they don't always show up on the standard balance sheet. They are missing from the debt statistics. This implies that the world is much more leveraged, much more in debt than the official numbers say. If there is a sudden crisis, a sudden shortage of dollars, this $10.7 trillion shadow debt could trigger a collapse that central banks might not see coming until it's too late. This is the ultimate shadow. It's not hidden in a suitcase. It's hidden in the mathematics of the financial system itself. When we talk about systemic mysteries, this is the heart of it. We have built a global financial engine where a significant percentage of the fuel and the risk is invisible to the mechanics trying to keep it running. So, why does this matter to you? Why should you care if a corporation shifts profits to Bermuda, or if a bank in London has off-balance sheet debt? Because the shadow world extracts value from the real world. Every dollar hidden in the shadow economy is a dollar that doesn't build a road, doesn't fund a school, and doesn't pay a nurse. When 42% of a low-income country's GDP is in the shadows, the government cannot fund basic services. This creates a vicious cycle. The state is weak because it has no money, so people stay in the shadows, so the state remains weak. On the flip side, the offshore wealth of the elite creates a distinct power structure. It allows the ultra-wealthy and the largest corporations to opt out of the social contract. They benefit from the infrastructure, the legal systems, and the educated workforce of developed nations, but they detach their capital from the maintenance of those nations. This consolidates power. If you can hide your money, you can hide your influence. You can fund political campaigns through dark money channels. You can sway public opinion without fingerprints. The shadow economy isn't just about greed. It's about the privatization of power. However, the light is starting to creep in. Digital currencies, while initially a tool for the shadow world, are becoming a tool for transparency. Central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, could theoretically illuminate every transaction, making the shadow economy impossible. But that brings its own dystopian risks of total surveillance. Artificial intelligence is also being deployed to detect trade misinvoicing, analyzing millions of shipping documents in seconds to spot the anomalies that human customs agents miss. The shadow world is not a separate planet. It is woven into the fabric of our daily lives. It is in the price of your coffee, the stability of your bank, and the deficit of your government. We learned today that nearly 20% of the world's economic activity is hidden. We learned that the poorest nations are forced into the shadows for survival, while the richest entities use the shadows for extraction. And we learned that there is a $10 trillion banking blind spot that hangs over the global economy like a sword of Damocles. The mystery of the shadow economy forces us to ask a fundamental question. Who is the economy actually for? Is it for the people who work and build and create? Or is it for the ghosts who move numbers in the dark? As technology evolves, the shadows might shrink, but the struggle for transparency is far from over. I want to hear from you in the comments. Do you think the push for digital currency will kill the shadow economy? Or will it just drive it deeper underground? And does the idea of a $10 trillion hidden debt worry you? If you found value in this deep dive, please hit that like button. It helps us bring these stories out of the shadows and into the algorithm. Don't forget to subscribe to AI-Powered Studio for more investigations into the systems that rule our world. Until next time, keep watching the data. AI-Powered Studio.